Welcome to the Total Boss Podcast, and I'm your host, Christiano Green, a podcast where we talk about finding fulfillment through self-development, being a leader of your own life, and getting the most out of it as well. Tenacity, originality, talent, authenticity, and being legendary. It's all about living your best life. Hello, all you total bosses out there, and welcome to another episode of the Total Boss Podcast. I am your host, Christiano Green, and I am a gay men's relationship coach helping gay men to find long-lasting love. So this week on the podcast, I am going to be sharing an interview I did with a fellow coach of mine, Navdeep. He's a good friend of mine, and we talk about emotional regulation, because being able to regulate our emotions is super important for us, because sometimes we store so much of that in the body, and as gay men we get taught to bottle everything up and to internalize all of our emotions. So having an open discussion about emotional regulation is important, because sometimes this is what's holding us back from really having love and finding love, because if we can't give that to ourselves and regulate our own emotions, then it's going to be hard when we come to terms with dealing that with someone else. So check it out, take a listen, and I'll see you at the end.
I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I really think what's important is you and who's listening. Because if you're listening to this, it means that some part of you has a hunger. It has a hunger for something greater. You know you're on a path right now, but you're wondering. You're wondering, is this the right path for me? Is this the path I was born to be gone? Is this path aligned with my purpose? And it's those questions, my friend, if you're listening now, that I help people answer. I help them switch out the lost and the I don't know what I'm doing and feeling like a frenzy for a sense of clarity and with a sense of purpose. I help them switch out that sense of stress and overwhelm with a sense of joy. And so if you're listening to this and you're wondering, I feel like I'm doing kind of the right thing, but I'm not there yet. What is that thing for you? And if you're listening and you're wondering, how do I get more joy, more energy, more contentment in my life? Then I trust that you know that you're in the right place, because those are the things that I coach people to achieve. Not only the success in their career and the progress, but the fulfillment in their life, so that their life and their cups are full in all aspects. And that's what I help people coach. I coach people and help them in that.
Awesome, mate. And I just get so much joy and excitement just watching you speak, mate, because you exude all of that, mate. So awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to be talking tonight about emotional regulation. And so obviously emotional regulation refers to people being able to control their own emotions under multiple amounts of stress and different situations. So it's about being able to figure out how you regulate yourself on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Now, obviously, we're doing this live tonight. We want everyone to be interactive. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into our chat here. We're so super happy to hear from you and go with the flow. We've got some questions of ourselves to go with, but feel free to jump in if you feel like you want some more information about something, or you want us to continue going on a certain path. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, now I've got a really good opening question I'd like to ask you, mate. What do you believe are the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to emotional regulation?
The biggest mistakes?
Yeah.
So like the challenges and the setbacks and what people fall on. Yeah, cool. That's a great question, Christiano. So first, let's zoom out and say in simple terms, like you did, what is emotional regulation, right? Like you did. And a really acronym I like to use to remember it is MOM. MOM. It's about being your own mom, should I say. And see, MOM, mastery over mood. Mastery over mood. When I think of emotional regulation, I want you to imagine, I love your photos, Christiano, on Facebook of you walking your dog, your greyhound, right? Now, I'm going to trust that, you love on her. I can see how much love you have. And in your training process, you had a system whereby, when you wanted the dog to stop, remind me of the dog's name?
Possum.
Possum.
That's it.
Okay, you named your dog Possum. So, Tiger King, Possum King. So I want you to imagine, basket, kill the husband. Yeah. So I want you to imagine that you take the dog for the walk, you tell it when to stop, you tell it when to heel, you tell it when to walk, right?
Mhm.
Now, emotional dysregulation or unregulation is as if, Cristiano, your emotions have a leash on you. They have a leash on you. They command what you can do and what you cannot do. They command when you can walk and when you cannot walk. They command when you sit still and when you do not sit still. That is emotional non-regulation.
Totally.
Mm. And so emotional regulation is not that we are bottling our emotions away. It's not that we are putting them in a closet, but rather we hold the leash and we are in the driver's seat. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. And just so everyone's aware, I'm actually not very good at regulating my dog because I let her do what she wants to do because I believe in emotional regulation and you should be in control of yourself. Obviously, I try to make her be a good girl, but she's already a good girl. I think she was trained well and she kind of lives life that way. So yeah, I'm maybe I'm doing the wrong thing with her, but I feel like she's happy.
Speaking of the wrong thing, so what are the mistakes that people make, right? There are 5 main ones. The first one is the speed of processing. So there is a medical term for holding things in. You know what it is? It's constipation.
Totally. Emotional constipation, right? Yeah.
You get like all these words. I used to be guilty of this, right? And very much so. So much so that I had to get a procedure because the stomach acids I had were imbalanced. That's how much I held it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time, Cristiano, there's also a term for how do I say, letting your emotions go too fast. Diarrhea. Totally. and so finding that balance is really important. That's number 1. Number 2 that is really important is when you invest in your emotional regulation. So the time to get coaching, the time to invest and upskill yourself for emotional regulation is not when you're already in the heat, because then it's too late. I mean, it's never too late, but you know what I mean? It's not ideal, right?
Of course.
Yeah, the time to invest really is beforehand. Because you might say, I don't need it now. Now is the time you need to set yourself up for success.
Yeah, totally.
You don't train for the marathon on the marathon, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, you've got to be prepared, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of prepared, something else that's really interesting is not facing the uncomfort. So many people who have been close to me, my friend, and people I've coached, they talk about that's too uncomfortable for me. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to deal with that. I'm just going to put it to a side. And sometimes they don't consciously say this. Sometimes it's I'm on my phone or I'm too busy.
Too busy.
Yeah. Like my brothers and my sisters and everything in between, if you're listening to this and you're saying you're too busy, I just want you to listen and to consider. If you are a car going to your destination, whatever that destination is, being a great parent, being a great professional, if you don't even know what your destination is and you are just going in search of your right path, I want you to consider that if you have all this baggage, all these chains, all these things holding you back, yes, you can keep going forward, but guess what? How much is that going to hold you back? And so bravery is not the absence of fear, it is acting in spite of it. And so when it comes to emotional regulation, it is not easy to train the dog. It is not easy to train your nervous system to emotionally regulate. But let me share with you this. You see, being a victim was not your choice. Being a victim was not your choice, but being a prisoner is. Being a prisoner is your choice. And there are going to be some of you thinking on this right now, like, yo, you think I want to go through this? You think I want to go through the issues with my sexuality, with my gender, with my identity? You think I want to be prison to that? You think I want to go through the effects that this abuse had, or this hard experience had, or this setback had, or this failure? No. And if you didn't know you could change it, And that's cool. You don't know what you don't know. But the fact is, if you're listening to this, my friend, it means you know there is another possibility available to you. It means you know with Christiano, with myself, with whomever, you know that on the other side of fear, on the other side of discomfort, on the other side of having your emotions hold the leash on you, there's a whole other level of life. And so I'm so excited because part of you already knows that the way you don't get over the discomfort, you get through the discomfort. That's why every morning I have a cold swim, because it's a metaphor. I'm just curious, what is the cold swim you need to have in your life, or you get to have?
Totally agree. And yes, I just started having cold showers in the morning just to shock myself into doing something different. And I think it really helps there. I loved what you're kind of talking about there. And I think for me, what I feel people make mistakes on when it comes to, emotional regulation is people think it's either really too hard or it's too easy. And people try to be super perfect, or they go, oh, it's too difficult, so I'm not willing to start.
Yeah.
And then they allow their emotions to really control them because they feel like it's too hard to get them under control. And I'm sure like we can talk to people who probably are quite emotionally regulated. We fucking have bad days as well, and we are not always in control of our emotions. But what we do well is we check ourselves and we reflect on those things as well, so that we get ourselves into a state of mind that goes, okay, what did go well yesterday and what didn't? Okay, great. In this situation, I was really good at holding myself to accountable to the way I want to be. But in this situation, it played out. What was the trigger to that situation that made me not kind of live the emotional state that I want to be in, right?
Yeah.
So for me, there's that perfectionism of, I have to be perfect, or I'm not going to do it, or it's too darn easy, so I've got it under control. And then you don't really reflect on yourself. You think, I've got myself under control. Of course I'm in control of my emotions. Next minute something happens and you're screaming, ranting and raving up the street, right? We see those people who say, I've got control over everything, and they really have control over absolutely nothing, right?
Totally, brother. And what you said is just so true, that we have bad days as well. The last week was the hardest week of my life without question. I crying, everything, right? But here's the thing, it's our default that matters. It's our default that matters. So what is your default? Every major religion, spirituality talks about equanimity. Equanimity is, instead of going, if you can see this, you have this consistency about you. And so, I've had moments in my life where I've been in a car accident and I had to present an hour later. And, or I've had some major news being shared with me and then I have to present an hour later. And I'm sure you have as well. And I'm sure the people listening to have as well. And, I've only ever canceled one engagement ever, like professional service, a call ever. In the 7 years I've been doing this. And so it's not about pushing things to the side, but it's about having the choice to keep going if you want to and deal with it when you're ready, which doesn't mean putting it aside. It just means, hold up, dog, you stay, and then we'll go for a walk when I'm ready. No, when you're ready.
And that's putting that control, that you're regulating, going, right now, I'm not going there because I've got to do this. I'll come back later. And that's totally okay. That's not suppressing it. That's going, I've got responsibilities and I need to show up as myself for other people, because that's what we do, right? We have to show up for other people to help them get to really where they got to go. Awesome. There's a couple of people that's joined us tonight. So I just wanted to shout out. Hello, Nita. Hello, Keith, Wolfgang, Ashley, Brock. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We're glad that you're on here, and hopefully we're helping you with some of these questions here tonight. Awesome. Alrighty then. So I've got next question for you now, Deeb, is what do you reckon the deal with vulnerability is? It's like everywhere. People talk about it all the time. What's your take on vulnerability?
All the time. Vulnerability.
Be vulnerable, Deeb.
I'm going to show you my whole life. Listen, I think the presence of vulnerability in mainstream media today, the increase in it has been so beneficial, massively beneficial. In the fact that, in my father's time and his forefathers' time, especially for, people, it can to shed your soul could have been something that was very scary. Okay? What I think is really important is I really feel like right now in the world, we're coming to a new age. With everything happening with the pandemic, everything happening with the social unrest, it seems like we are at a tipping point. Would you agree? And with a tipping point comes a rebalance. So first you have the chaos and then you have the rebalance. And so whilst I think vulnerability, it's awesome that it's coming and really it's more talked about and really cool, right? It's on every Insta post, like, oh my God, guys, gotta be vulnerable. We're now coming to a point of balance. And that point of balance is we acknowledge that vulnerability is important, but my friend, it is only the first step.
Only the first step, for sure.
Yes. It's only the first step. I like to think about it like A, B, C. A stands for awareness of the pattern, awareness of the problem. And that's all about being vulnerable, right? You let it out. You don't stay constipated. Totally. But so much of the time, and this is the difference between Instagram and coaching, right? People are like, well, I don't need coaching. I'm just going to go on Instagram and check out all these cool quotes and I'll be right. I'll be woke, # woke. But the
really woke, man, really woke.
Bro, I'm like, follow this guy on Instagram. I'm woke, bro. Yo. The truth is, the A, the vulnerability, the awareness is just the first step. The second step, the B, is then about how do we break the pattern? How do we break the pattern so that we no longer have to sit in those emotions for longer than we want to? If we want to sit in the emotions, that's cool. You do you, boo. But if you want to break the pattern, the B, and then the C is choose the new pattern. If you don't want to feel overwhelmed, how do you want to feel focused? If you don't want to feel overwhelmed, if you don't want to feel lost, how do you want to feel? You want to feel like you own your identity, which is your genius zone, right, Christiano?
Yes.
I think you have an ebook coming up on that. I'm really excited for that. Yeah. If you're feeling lost and you want that clarity or that joy, then choose that new pattern and commit to it. So A stands for awareness and vulnerability. That's step one, where I really hope for the world that we progress to is we go step 2, which is B, but break the pattern, and then C, choose and commit.
I love those ABCs, mate, and I love that you're teaching us so much valuable stuff tonight, Navi. For me, though, when it comes to vulnerability, if you talk to me a year ago, I was one of those people that's like, vulnerability, sharing my feelings. I'm not going to do that because I came from a generation and where I grew up, family-wise, that it wasn't really acceptable to be vulnerable because that was kind of showing a weakness, right? And it took me a lot of inner work and also getting my own coaching to really understand that there's so much power and strength in being vulnerable, in being authentic, and in being congruent to how you feel. And that's really the whole basis of emotional regulation, is being able to, 1, fully be aware of how you're currently feeling, 2, breaking the pattern if needed and going, okay, is this how I want to be? And as you said, making the choice to change that, because it really is. It really is, it sounds simple, and it really is if you really work at it, but it doesn't just happen overnight. You can't say ABC and it's done. You do have to put in the work to, 1, check yourself and be aware of how I'm feeling right now. And it's okay to feel how you feel right now, but then have that choice to break the pattern and really choose a new pattern that you really want to have. Because at the end of the day, this is what life's about, is choice, and having us choose how we want to be in our own emotional state, and not allowing other things or other people to really control how we regulate our emotions, because we have that power to do that. And if I want to be feeling this way and that thing there happens, great, it can happen. I can observe it and be aware that would trigger me here, but do I want it to be triggered right now? As you said, sometimes it's not the right moment. You've got to put that in your pocket and come back to it at a later time, right?
And you want it to be a trigger forever.
Exactly.
Like, if you find a trigger, it's awareness. And I understand how it can be painful to deal with that trigger, to deal with that event, right? And that's cool. Maybe, you got to live 70 kilos before you live 100. So start with something smaller. But the forward vision to say, I will get to a point and I will consciously get to a point where I'll be cool with that. You know what I mean? And yeah. Are you cool if we jam on vulnerability a little bit more, bro? Are you cool with that?
Go for it. Jump in, mate. I can see you you're in your swing, mate.
Yeah, dude. We make a good team, man. We make a good team.
Oh, buddy, we are good brothers.
So what we'll say? So a couple things about vulnerability. The first is, you were saying that after you got your own coaching, about a year ago was the turning point. Correct me if I'm wrong, whereby you started to sit in your power and be vulnerable.
Totally. Yeah.
And yeah, which I'm so happy for you, dude. And look at you blossom. I saw your origin story, which is really cool. And it's important to understand that somebody has to set the standard. So, when I was going through my own struggles, be it self-harming as a teenager, be it, I had autism and I didn't even know it till like a month ago.
So I had that breakthrough, actually, yeah.
High-functioning autism or Asperger's. And, at that time, I felt like I couldn't go to my parents. I would be a disgrace. I couldn't go to the world. So I would be happy on the outside, inside. Poker face. And I realized that I wanted that relationship with my family. I wanted that relationship with my friends, but actually I had to be the one to initiate it.
Yeah.
And what's more is it could have gone badly. And some friends, we found out we were actually not the right fit, number one. And I'm sharing this because I think it could really serve your community, right? In terms of stepping out into their own, not only in terms of their sexuality, but in terms of who they are as a person. Number two is my friend Nicole. She shared something called Rituals for Connection. Rituals for Connection, for Gibson. And she talks about setting up rituals to make vulnerability and being transparent easy. So my best friend and I, Wasim, I am so grateful he's in my life. We meet once a week without question.
Nice.
Yeah, and we ask ourselves what's been going great, but also what's been a challenge.
Totally.
So, yeah, it makes it easy to have that, right? And the third thing is, think of vulnerability like this, Christiano, and whoever's watching. A lion can get wounded. But before a lion sits down to lick their wound, the lion already knows that they're licking their wound to get the strength to get back up. And so it takes guts to lick your wounds. It takes guts to be vulnerable. And just remember, you are not the gazelle in this setting. You are the lion. They're just licking their wounds because they know they're going to get back up even stronger. And so there's a lot of strength involved.
So much strength there. And I love what you're talking about there. And I think I kind of related to what you're saying about stepping into your uniqueness, stepping into your identity. It does take the vulnerability to really be aware of what it is that you want to step into and who you are and what it takes to uncover that there. And it isn't just about someone who's within my community who needs to step into their identity. There's so many different things. And, something like you said, you owned having high functioning Asperger's like a month ago. You had to own that as well and step into like that is something that you've probably been wanting to figure out what is this thing that is happening. And now that you own it. And it's like you said, you feel uncomfortable or afraid to go to some people in your life because you feel like they're going to look at you differently. And that's a part of not being able to fully feel like you can own that to everyone in your life. But, that vulnerability that you're so strong at connecting to, having other people in your life to be able to actually talk to about that probably gives you the strength to be able to say, okay, with these people right now, it didn't feel comfortable, but I feel more and more comfortable as the days go on because I'm checking myself and really being aware of it, whether I am deserving to be able to step into and own it and not have it be a weakness and turn it into such a big fucking strength, mate. So you should be proud of that, mate.
Thank you, brother. It is so refreshing. Yesterday I went on a date.
Mm-hmm.
It was a first date, okay? So first
Yeah.
date, and the girl reached out to me, and we knew each other in the past life. And I said, what do you think's changed since the last time we met? And she said, Navdeep, it feels like you are done chasing, and you're at a point where you're just going to be you and attract what you're meant to attract to that. And I know she wasn't just talking about intimate relationships when she said that. And so that was such a beautiful gift,
Totally.
Yeah, and what you were saying earlier, Christiano, is so important. The ABC, it's not just about in that moment. It's not about just when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, being aware, breaking the pattern and choosing ABC, but it's about in life. If you're in a relationship you're not fulfilled in, how do you break the unfulfillment pattern and either choose to make that into a fulfilling relationship or make a different decision? If your job, if your career, if your health, first step, become aware, A. Second step, break the pattern. And the third is choose. And the reason we have commit is because it's not always easy to break and choose. Committing is the only way.
Totally. And I love what you talked about when you are stressed and overwhelmed. And there's this whole topic that people talk about is I should be feeling my feelings in the moment and just sit in that moment. And people feel like they have to sit in their stress. They have to sit in their overwhelm. They have to sit in whatever it is. And it's like that suffering that people feel like they have to connect to. What do you think that people need to learn when it comes to, sitting in it or really kind of checking yourself? What's your point on your view on that, mate?
Yeah, dude. Great question. Now, listen, I'm not illusioned enough to think my way is the only way. What I've found at this point of recording now, serving 26,000 people in 10 countries and more than 123 organizations, if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. We all go through pain.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah. But suffering is a choice.
It is a choice, yeah.
It's the victim and prisoner thing, man. So you kind of got to understand, right? Like, what's more important, this momentary pain or that purpose we're on? What's more important, this momentary pain or that joy we're seeking? What's more important, this momentary pain or investing in the relationship so that it will blossom, right? Now, I'm just going to be straight up, if you're cool with me, Christiano, right? I mean, it is, you get to decide. Yeah, you get to decide what standard you want to play at. You get to decide. So if your standard is here, that is cool. There is no hate, right? Love on you. But if your standard is here and you're facing pain and that's what's stopping you, then you got to ask yourself, what is more important? That standard or your current situation? That must or your current misery? And we all have bad days, man. I took a week off when my previous relationship ended because it was hard, man. I was crying. I haven't cried as much ever. Like, it was so real. Like, crying on the bathroom, everything, right? And that's because I knew that if I don't break the pattern now and go through that discomfort, then I'm going to be carrying that on into future relationships and future months and future years. And so your question was, don't we just feel the pain and feel the stress? It's that balance, man. It's that balance. It's that real balance. I really feel like as a world, we're soon becoming onto a point of balance. With vulnerability, with masculine, feminine energy, with a bunch of different things, finding that balance. And so your question was, don't we just feel our stress, feel our pain, and then it's over? Dude, don't suppress your pain, but don't subscribe to suffering.
I love that.
Suppress your, but don't subscribe to suffering. And is it easier said than done? Yes, 100 flipping %. Is it easy for me to say? now I'm at a point where I can do that, right? But it wasn't easy, right? I mean, I've shared already. I was at a brink of suicide. I was self-harming, you know? I got kicked out of school for fighting. I was bullied for years on end. I didn't know I had fucking autism, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Uh, and and so I understand if you're listening to this and you're like, bro, you don't understand my situation. Yeah, I'll never be able to sit in your shoes like you are. I'm just sharing what's possible on the other side of the mountain.
Totally. And I think you hit that there quite strongly there. I think, really for me, what I feel is it takes a lot of nerve and it takes a lot of courage for people to, one, step into that pain and then actually look at it as, one, you're in it, but also objectively as if you're observing yourself. There's that whole, you've got to look at yourself from a bird's eye view sometimes to really see that. And sometimes you do need to have other people's input into certain situations because, sometimes you're so far in a problem that you're focused on that problem that the solution might be slapping you in the face left and right. But if you're not watching for it or your head's down, you're not going to really get the opportunity to really find that path that's aligning you to the area that's going to find the solution, right? And when you have someone who's so deeply in their own problem and stuck there, all you're going to get is that problem. And so what it takes is a shift, is a bit of a mindset, that pattern break for you to have a shift, because what do they say? They say you can't solve a problem with the same mindset that created it. So you need to break that pattern, move forward into solution mode, and figure a way where you can get to where you want to be emotionally, right? Because like I said, it is a choice, it is a decision, but you have to break a pattern. And sometimes when you're so far deeply invested into a problem and that's all you see, that solution is so far away from where you're ever going to get to unless you break the pattern. And again, getting the outside input from a coach, a friend, whoever, sometimes is the best, the best avenue to take, right?
Absolutely, bro. And there's quite a distinction there in that, if you're in a boxing match with some pain or adversity, it's really important who you have in your corner. Okay? If you have a friend in your corner, that's beautiful. It's better than having nobody. But wouldn't it be even better to have a coach who has been in the boxing ring themselves?
100%.
I mean, and we're having quite a serious tone in this conversation, but I just want to remind everybody what joy it brings. So there are two sides of emotional regulation, okay? And I want you to imagine it like this. On side A is you control the emotions that you don't want to feel, okay? You are in charge. But on side B, you can also generate the emotions that you do want to feel, okay? If you want to feel joy, if you want to feel love, if you want to feel gratitude, if you want to feel laughter, if you want to feel cheekiness, the emotions that you want to feel. But I sort of think of it like a bartender, right? You understand your recipe for joy. You understand your ingredients for happiness. You understand your cocktail for cheekiness, and you can make that on demand when you master emotional regulation. And so let us acknowledge that the pain is there. Let us acknowledge that it is painful, right? But let us also acknowledge the pleasure and the joy that is possible when you understand that you hold the leash. And so you can take Possum, you can take the dog to the park to go have fun. You don't have to wait for something to happen because you hold the leash, you own the driver's seat. How cool is that?
It's amazing, right? And like you said, you decide not only that you're in the driver's seat, but what kind of car you want to drive, right? So if I want to drive a fucking Ferrari and that means I'm getting joy, happiness, love, cheekiness, great. But if I want to drive a beaten up fucking VW that's, got two tires broken and, the window smashed, then I can do that. But how far am I going to get in life with a car that's not really roadworthy, right? And that's kind of what you look at. The vessel that you are in, you're driving, right? So putting yourself in a position to drive something that's really not getting you anywhere. Which car do you want to drive? Do you want to drive the Ferrari, or do you want to drive that beaten up VW, Nav?
Absolutely. I love that analogy you've used of roadworthy. Now, see, somebody might be listening to this and be wondering, yo, where's the practical tips, yo? But what's really important is, in this short podcast interview, we can give you a couple of practical tips, but it's really that approach, the framework. So A, awareness, B, break the pattern, C, choose and commit. The commit is important because you might not get the new flavor, the new pattern, the new emotion you want to do straight away.
Totally.
Yeah. So in the micro, right? What can I use to explain this? So I want to imagine you become aware of the pattern, you bring it out from the back. If you're watching this, you break the pattern, okay? Break it, and then you put in something new. So for example, let me take this, you put in something new, you choose your new pattern. However, it might take you a couple of tries to break the pattern. If I'm feeling stressed, I might do a deep breathing, but perhaps that's not enough. So I have to do something more vigorous. Perhaps I have to have a cold shower. Perhaps I have to go into my gratitude jar. Perhaps I have to go for a quick run and do some push-ups. It's about committing to yourself that you will find a way. You will find a way to break the pattern. And what's more, Christiano, it's when you are choosing commit and committing, you are committing to yourself and for the people you love and care for, that you will find a way. I've seen so many people say that they've had a bad experience with a coach or a counselor, and that's it. And they're like, that's it. I'm like, what? You are committed to finding a way. Okay, so I have a personal belief that I'll try anything. So, when I was working through a particular adversity, I tried anything. Cold shower, exercise, writing a letter, talking to a chair as if there's a person there, burning something, going to a coach, being in a mastermind. Whatever you do to get that outcome, it's like, what is the alternative? To live with that pain? Do you want to be a prisoner forever or have some pain for a little while? You want to be a prisoner
100%.
forever, or into pain for a little while?
Exactly right. And it goes back to that whole thing of, like I said, what car are you driving? And if you are currently driving that VW, you get a chance to change and upgrade to a new car, right? There's like people who every couple of years they get a new car. Is it time for you to get a new car? Is it time for you to upgrade and make that car, get back on the road in the right way and really drive yourself to success? And, for me, when I talk about driving myself to success, it's about really gaining momentum and doing the things that really are going to keep you on the right path. So for me, you just mentioned a bit about practical tips. For me, what I would say that sets myself up to be totally in the right mindset to kind of continue my journey of owning my emotions and regulating them on a basis is having a really awesome morning routine. Setting yourself up that day for success. It's the same. It's like I said with the car, right? When you go on a long trip, before you go on a long trip, you check your oil, you make sure you've got petrol in your car, you make sure you've washed your windows. Most people do like a little bit of a check, right? To get themselves in the right way to ride that car to where you want to go and make sure you get there in the state you want to get to. So for me, setting yourself up with something like, mornings, like I said, for us, you said every morning you go and have a fucking nice little cold swim, right? Every day. Is that something that you use to make sure that you're putting yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone, but you're preparing yourself and prepping yourself and priming yourself for the day ahead and setting yourself up to go, what I'm aware of kind of what I've got on plan today, but also what could trip me up? Asking yourself questions like, what could come in my way today that could fuck with where I'm going? And what do I do if it comes up? You prepare yourself for situations. So if they come up, you go, okay, great. In this situation today, I know that if I run into that person, I could get triggered because A, B, and C. But how do I want to act in those moments? It's literally putting yourself in a situation sometimes to prepare yourself for it to happen. And that's not, in a bad way to put yourself into an emotional state, but it's also about setting yourself up for success and knowing, like you said, how you want to handle yourself in situations, right? So if you have a routine and you prepare yourself, ask yourself questions, journal questions, ask some really good mastery questions. Like we'll ask ourselves each day, like what is working, what is not working, what did I learn, what could be better, and who do I need to become to make my dreams come true? If you ask yourself some key questions each day, where do you think you're going to get to? And if on that path is who do I need to get to is I need to be emotionally in control, how do I do that? So there's always another question. And if you always have another question, there's always another answer,
I like that. If there's always another question, there's always another answer.
Totally. And that answer can lead to another question for you to push yourself to. And that's the good thing is it's a cycle and you don't want to stop answering questions because you've gotten to a certain level, right? There's always another level as well. So if you're always asking a single question, you're asking yourself questions, you're always going to push yourself, right? Because if you ask yourself questions that you already know the answer to, you're going to get bored of asking those questions, right? So you need to make sure you're asking questions that are actually going to make you think about where you're currently at, how you currently feel, and where do you want to currently go and get to? And then how do you want to feel in that lifetime? If you can prepare yourself, put yourself in a situation of success, and you go, when this happens, I'm going to feel this. Boom, you start to get that feeling ingrained into yourself, and then you want to drive towards that feeling, right?
Which is really cool.
To get somewhere and putting yourself in a position to feel that way because you're feeling your way through life, right? And I'm choosing the way I feel and I'm choosing the path. I'm walking down this path here because it's going to get me this feeling that I've prepared myself that I want to get to, right?
Yeah, dude. Well said. Well said. Totally right. It's so interesting, Christiano. There are quite a few things that really come up with that. The first is you can start small.
Totally small.
So I do 5 days of cold swims, 1 day of cold shower, and 1 day rest. But it started off with 1 day a week of cold swim. That's the first thing. The second thing is this stuff has been in culture for thousands of years. The thing you were talking about, visualizing what could go wrong, Stoicism and Marcus Aurelius call it negative visualization. The third thing is, you might be listening to this and thinking, damn, these guys sound a bit passionate, maybe a bit too passionate, but please understand that we're not angry. We're just imagining that, holy moly, imagine if somebody had had this conversation with us when we were going through our shit. I mean, we still go through stuff, but just imagine how lucky we would have been, Christiano, if somebody sat us down and said, hey, all you need to do is have a routine. All you need to do is the ABC. All you need to do is this and that, and it'll be okay. And that's one of the most beautiful things about having a coach. And, I remember I used to feel that if I just watch enough podcasts, if I just watch enough webinars and these books, I'll figure out and I'll put it together myself. And it only matters when I do it myself. And then what I found was that I reckon I have about 20,000 days left on it. And every day spent in fear, or every day spent in my ego that I have to be the one to figure this out, or every day spent in a day where I'm not going to get a coach because I'm just going to watch all this free shit and put it all together, is 1 day less of freedom. It's 1 day less of fun, and is 1 day less of really soaking in all the flavors of life. And that's why I'm going to invite you, if you're listening to this and you're watching this, how can you set yourself up to win? Because you owe you, but more important, Christiano, and this is my problem with a lot of personal development, is not personal development. It's about, I firmly believe that we grow more so that we can give more.
100%. 100%, right?
We grow more so that we can give more. It's about who can you be for your family? What is the role model you can be for your community? What is the role model you can be for those in need? And there are so many people saying, I just want to give back. But let's be honest, Holmes. There are people in such disadvantaged situations that need you. And I'm not saying that you are the hero. I'm not saying that you are that, but why can't you give them a hand up? And there's something so beautiful to know that you're not growing for you, Omiji. That is the first step. You're growing so that you can give more. Because who's going to cry when you die? I'm not saying this from ego. I'm saying this from inquiry. What is it that you're going to give? Whose life are you going to touch? And, again, your standard is your standard that you choose to play at. But this whole notion about, if you touch one person's life, then that will be amazing. And yes, it's amazing, but why the fuck are you settling there?
Why stop at one, mate?
Yeah. Why not serve? And you can start small. You can, my friends and I, we just packed care packages for homeless people. Freaking deodorant. Freaking, tampons. It's important. But just understand that there is a greater purpose to go through all of this pain. And if you don't mind, Christiano, I'd like to share a practical thing.
Go for it, mate. Go for it.
Thanks, dude. You can tell the mood of the conversation has changed already, right? It's good. It's good. I just, yeah. There's something really, really special when you stop saying, I want to help people, and you stop saying, I want to make a difference, and you get really granular on, I am doing this task so that I will be able to help these people in this way. It makes it so real. It's not just a fucking snippet on Instagram, yo. It's a conscious choice that I want to make this difference. And one way you can emotionally regulate, so you can make that difference, step into your unique identity, can't wait for the ebook, and make that impact is this. So you become aware of, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling overwhelmed, then you feel the tightening in your neck, the stomach butterflies. That's the A. I'm going to share a quick way to break the pattern. There are more than 52 ways. We, as a coach and coachee, we work until we find the way that works for you. But this is just one way, okay? So if you're watching this, it's going to be easy. If you're driving, you can do it too. It's called 6 breathing. As you can see my hand, you breathe in for 6, okay? And you hold it for 6. And you release for 6. And then you hold the exhale, so you cannot inhale. Now I'm going very fast. I'm going to guide you through 2 rounds. Is that cool with you, Christiano?
I'm going to do it along with the people out here.
Okay, awesome, bro. We still have people on, right?
Yeah, there's people online here. Yeah, totally.
Awesome. And we might break for questions if, I'd love to take some questions and yourself.
Totally, guys. If you've got questions, feel free to start writing them in and we'll go through this process and then we'll see what we've got and we're happy to answer anything that's come up for you throughout this conversation. Yeah. This is fun. It's like a dance as opposed to that. Yeah. All right. So we're going to breathe in for 6. You can look at my hand and make sure that when you're breathing in, you don't breathe in all at the first one because you want to pace it. Okay. So let's go again. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in through your nose. And hold it. And exhale for 6 through your mouth. 5, 6. And hold the exhale. 1, 2. I'm counting in case you're just listening to this, not watching. 5, 6. And now breathe in for 6. 2, 3, 4. Make sure your belly is getting nice and big. And hold it for 6. And breathe out for 6. Well done. You're doing so well.
And breathe in and hold the exhale for 6. Awesome. Now take 1 deep breath in and release. Now maybe you were able to sense a change in the atmosphere in the room. Generally, I would suggest doing this for about 2 to 3 minutes, but we don't have time for that. Now, what's interesting is this thing called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter. That means it's a chemical in your brain. It's a natural sedator or tranquilizer. Not like a bear where you get tranquilized, but you become calm. You breathe deeply for 3 minutes like that. Acetylcholine is released in your brain. It goes down onto your nervous system, flushes your body with relaxant, and that might help you emotionally regulate. Maybe you need another way, more intense, more vigor, more brain power, but that's one way you can use straight away. Christiano, I know there was something you wanted to share.
Something I wanted to share?
I just saw you tap your chin. You seemed quite inquisitive.
Oh, did I? Oh, no, I was scratching my chin. But anyway, yeah. No, I love to do that emotional regulation breathing there as well. But I do a 5 in, hold for 20, and out for 10. I do that 10 times over, and it's called and it gets you breathing into your lymphatic zones as well. So it's actually retraining your nervous system as well to actually get yourself into your body into a state of, when you're feeling anxious, or you're feeling stressed, or you're feeling that anger, it feels like it's fully in your body. That lymphatic breathing actually regulates your body and settles down the nervous system. So it's actually a scientific proven thing to do, that when you do that breathing in there, it actually brings in, because you're holding in the oxygen into your body, and it's going to the cells that are really kind of jumping and whatnot. So a lot of people with anxiety, depression, mental health issues really would do well to do simple techniques like that in the moment that can help you to, like I said, get out of your head and into your heart, Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, and okay, one thing I'm just going to say about like podcasts and stuff, like if we were in person, there would be a more natural pause, right? I just don't know with podcasts. But the cool thing is, I don't want to sound like I'm just jumping. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is, what's cool is you can do this on a day-to-day basis. You're stressed out in a meeting, you're having a heated conversation, you just start breathing, the other person won't even notice, which is cool. Number 2, and you brought it up about like counseling and stuff. Listen, I can't speak for all counselors and all psychologists and things like that. I've had a fair few in my life, I think about 4 or 5. And only one of them was really, really, really focused on breaking the pattern. People often ask me what's the difference between a coach and a traditional therapist. And I'm just going to say it from my personal experience. I can't speak for all of them, and they mainly have good intentions. They want to serve, they want to love, but their training, the way at least I've experienced it, I've had one beautiful, beautiful, beautiful champion therapist, Georgia. But in my other experiences, the big focus has been on awareness, which is cool. But again, vulnerability is just the first step.
100%. And after, something that you may not know about me is I actually have a counseling degree. So I studied counseling, about 5-6 years ago. And I did my degree, and then I wasn't sure that this was the right thing for me to do, to be quite honest, because I didn't feel, I felt like there was another level. Like you said, the first step's awareness, right? And to me, it was like, I feel like I know how to use these skills and I know how to can help them, but there's a lot of kind of rules about how I should do it, and I can't go to the next level. And I'm like, well, if I could push someone to and hold them accountable and take them to the next level and also help guide them there, isn't that like taking them from where they were, not to now? I don't want to take you from where you are to here. I want to take you from where you were to fucking where you want to go, and then further. I want to push you to further the limits than you ever actually thought you could get to. So for me, that's what I would say the difference between a counselor and a coach is a counselor takes you from your problem to your present, but a coach takes you from your problem to your fucking future and helps you create that along the way, and then pushes you there and celebrates with you the whole 9 yards, right?
That's awesome. That's so good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now, Deep, how good are you at asking for emotional help when you need it? I know you said you've had some struggles yourself, but how did you reach out to people? How do you regulate yourself when you need help, when you actually really need physical, emotional help?
I really, really, really need help. Yeah, dude, I was really bad at it, essentially. It's all about, how do I say it? What you really want is you want the coach in your corner of the boxing ring before you get punched in the face. Because the coach is like, yo, you get punched in the face, I'm right here. You know that. There's no awkward, oh, I feel awkward about telling you about this. There's no, oh, can I get your help? Oh, I don't know if I can come to you. Does that make sense? So if I'm having a shit time or life is going fantastic, I'm still meeting Wasim every single week. You know? I still meet with my coach every single week. 5 a.m. Sunday morning. No questions asked. And my mastermind, right? Because sometimes in life you get hit by a cantaloupe, sometimes you get hit by an antelope, and sometimes you're thriving. So every single week, actually that's not true. I give myself 1 week off every 6 weeks. So anyways, pretty much every single week, I meet with my best friend. I meet with my coach. Yeah. And that really, really, really helps. In terms of my family and stuff, that's been a bit trickier, but it reached the point where the pain of being quiet was outweighed by the pain of being quiet was so much more painful than the pain of an awkwardness. And it's about overcoming that initial awkwardness, dude. Like 9 times out of 10, I still feel awkward and I still procrastinate a bit about jumping into the pool. Like I still do. So every single day I have to choose it. And the fact is, if I want my friend, if I want my family, if I want, I'm single at this time, but when I am in an intimate relationship, you kind of have to set the standard. You get to set the standard. How cool is that? You get to, when you shine your light, it gives others permission to shine theirs. When you shine your light, it gives others permission to shine theirs. And yeah, my name means new light.
Does it? I love that.
Yeah. It's about taking that first step, dude. Like, I remember, when you shine your light, it helps others shine theirs.
It certainly does. It certainly does. And I think, what you were saying before really kind of resonates before, because you were talking about, I've read all these books, I've listened to all these podcasts and and it takes such a long journey. I mean, I've been doing that for 15 years, right? And if I had someone back then to talk to and help me guide through this, I would have saved myself through 15 minutes of unemotional regulation, emotional irregulation, whatever you want to call it, because it does take sometimes, someone in your corner for you to be really able to trust and talk to and be open with about where you're at and where you want to get to, for them to help you, right? Like I said, we don't just wake up every morning owning who we are. We plan for it, right? And for us, that's talking to someone who we know, who we can trust, our own coaches, right? Because yes, coaches get coaches, guys, because we believe in the power. We believe in what we do, and we believe in the power of it. So we need to have someone else who pushes us to get to where we want to go, because we're not going to get there on our own, because it's a long journey. And walking somewhere alone, it's easy to lose that momentum that you have. And having someone who's there holding you accountable keeps you getting that momentum that's going to get you to that goal that you have in your life, whatever it is. And then what happens is when you get to that goal, they help you get to another goal. Because that's what happens. And like I said, I've got plenty of goals at the moment, and I know that if I wasn't in the mastermind that I'm in, I didn't have the coaches that I have, because I've got more than one. I've got 2 actually that help me with different things, and it really helps me get there, because like I said, they put asking me questions that I haven't been asking myself. They're giving me homework that I wasn't setting for myself, because I was taking an easy road going, I'll do this and this, and they're going, no, you'll do that, but you'll do this and this as well. And I'm like, of course, because if I want to get somewhere and I've got a plan I've got like my end goal in mind, I need someone who's going to push me and help me to get there, right? And I need to get on that path, right? And I need to take the steps it's going to take me to step into my identity, step into my own uniqueness. I am a product of my program. I'm stepping into my uniqueness every day. It is a constant battle to get into your identity and own it and truly feel authentic and congruent in who you are and how you want to represent yourself to the world. Regulation of your emotions is one step of that, right?
100%, dude. 100%. It's just so beautiful that, it gives me such a sense of certainty, Christiano. And like you were saying, a coach without a coach is like a personal trainer that doesn't exercise.
100%.
And it's just so beautiful that the level of certainty you get when you know that no matter what happens, you're just a Facebook message away from getting some guidance. How cool is that? I mean,
100%.
like, and you can get guidance from your friends. Amazing. You can get guidance from a mentor, somebody who like pro bono, gives you some guidance. You can get guidance from your family, but I find that there's always a line. There's a line that people don't want to cross because it's not politically correct, because it's not deemed appropriate. They're not going to tell you because they might become confrontational or it's awkward. You know what I mean? But don't get me wrong, your friends, your family, your mentor, I trust and I hope, I believe, in my setting, they love you and they have the best intentions. Let us not discount that. Let us discover that there is a line and there is a love and there is a gift really that is really special to a coach, because number one, they're open to asking you the hard questions. Number two, that you can be completely vulnerable with them, because there's no other if I say this to this family member, they'll say this. If I say this to this friend, then they'll say this. And also they've walked the walk that you're walking on. And so it's really quite beautiful to have somebody just accept you, embrace you, support you to where you want to be. And there's somebody on this line thinking right now, what if I don't want to grow forever? That's cool. Because a coach it's not a coach's job to get you where they want you to be. It's the coach's job and duty and privilege and gift to get you where you want to be and whatever success is to you. And yeah, there's a lot of shit out there. Like, hey guys, here's me and my Ferrari and all that. But if you focus, my father taught me a really important lesson once, which is if you focus on what's wrong with something, you focus on what's wrong with the coaching industry, and every industry has what's wrong with it. If you just focus on what's wrong with something, you miss out on all its beauty.
I love that. To me, what I would talk about is because in life, if you want to get somewhere where you've never been, you've got to push yourself, right? And
yeah.
I'm going to try to see if this analogy works out there. Doing it alone, it's like walking down a really, really dark alley, and all you've got is your flashlight and your phone. You're walking down the alley, you don't know where the fuck you're going, you're scared shitless, and something could fucking jump out at you anytime, and you'd lose your shit. But when you've got a coach, it's like walking down that dark alley, suddenly the moon's shining bright, the street lights start to turn on, and you've got a compass, you've got a map, you've got all the tools you need to get there, and someone in your head saying, you've got this. So they're helping you to get there, even though you may have had that stuff before, you can't tap into it always on your own, And if you, what path do you want to walk down? The one that you've got your flashlight, you're fucking scared shitless, or do you want someone where there's that moon shining on you, you've got those street lights coming, and you know the path you're going to take, right?
Yeah, totally. Well, bro, I think we're almost at time, huh?
We're almost at time, yes. I feel like we've had a really solid conversation today about emotional regulation, my friend.
Totally, dude. Hey, I know you got some exciting things to wrap up on in terms of your ebook that's coming up and all that jazz and the challenge. And is it okay with you if before we hand over to you to wrap things up and let people know how they can connect with you and connect with me, I'd just like to say one last thing. That's cool with you.
Totally.
Is there anything else you wanted to cover, or we're good to segue?
I feel like we've covered a great topic tonight. I feel like we've really flowed today, mate. So thank you. Yeah, go for it.
I feel so too, man. And I never expressed this. This is just coming out of me now. Okay, so I'm gonna give my guess. I might even close my eyes. So, listen, if you're listening to this and you're part of this community, there's a good chance that there have been a time, or maybe multiple times in your life, where you felt like you were not enough. Where you felt that because of your difference and because of your uniqueness and because of you being strange or weird or broken, that you were not enough, that you were not loved. And now listen, I am not part of the LGBTIQA+ community. And so there's going to be part of your pain that I will never understand, but understand that everyone goes through pain when it comes to their uniqueness. Everyone goes through pain when it comes to their identity. Everyone goes through pain when it comes to regulating their stress. And I'm not saying that our pain is the same, but what I'm saying is just listen to what I am trying to deliver in this short and sweet and very compressed frame. Is I want you to understand that my good friend Nicole, she said something. It's by you owning your identity, by you owning your uniqueness, by you going through that struggle, it gives society a chance to expand. By you stepping into your greatness, despite all the hate, despite all the shit that people have given you because of who you are, you give society a chance to expand, to develop, to become work, and to progress as a society. And I know you've been through pain. And I know you struggle. And I know you've been thrown shit for being who you are. And part of you might be scared. I can't be loved for who I am. Part of you might be scared, saying, I can't be my loud self. I can't be my quiet self. I can't be my vibrant self. I can't be my full self, because what will people say? I just want you to know, baby, that you are loved. And you are enough. And I don't know what your belief is, God, the universe, an almighty. And I'm not here to tell you what it is, even if you're atheist. I'm just here to tell you that something bigger has a plan for you, something bigger has a purpose for you, and something bigger will always give you gifts all throughout your life through people. And there is no mistake that you are on this right now. There is no mistake that you are listening to this message now. There is no mistake that you are here and we are sharing this moment together right now. Understand this, my friend, that you are loved, that you are enough. But you know how life works is that sometimes the universe, something bigger, God, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't shout at you, it gives you whispers. Somebody once said that a synchronicity is like your soul giving you a wink.
Yes.
So consider this a wink, consider this a whisper, and I'm so excited to see how you turn this whisper and amplify it into a symphony. I just want to say thank you for being you. You are loved, you are enough, and you stepping into your greatness gives permission for the world to step into their greatness. Thank you.
Wow, powerful, my friend. Thank you so much for sharing that. Great ending for it.
Yeah.
Love that.
Wow.
I
feel like I was speaking to myself.
Alrighty then. Well, welcome back, guys. I trust you got some value out of that interview with Navdeep. And of course, I'm sure you've probably got some questions, as you guys always do. So feel free to either message below, reach out to me on Facebook, keep the conversation going, because this is not a one-time topic. Emotional regulation is so important. So I'll be back next week with another episode. I love hearing from you guys. And until then, always remember you've got this and I've got you.